What's going on, everybody? If you clicked on the video link, then that's because you want a little weekly summary of what happened in college football. This is the first video that we made, so welcome to Make Sports Easy. We're here to help you understand any type of sport that you're interested in. We're going to do some of the main ones, but mostly we just want to give it to you in a digestible way so that you can talk about it with your family and your friends, and that you can watch the game and actually know what the heck is going on. But we're just going to give you a brief summary of what happened. Try not to go too much into the weeds, but a lot happened these first couple weeks in college football. So without further ado, thank you again for joining us and Make Sports Easy, and we're going to jump into it. So college football, unlike probably any other sport, doesn't start with week 1. It starts with week 0. In week 0, Florida State played Georgia Tech. And to go back, this is very important because it really set the stage for what might be one of the most difficult seasons amongst ACC powerhouses. We'll get into Clemson later. I promise we'll get into that because we really don't know who to trust right now. Are the Blue Bloods still the Blue Bloods, or are new up-and-comers? But neither here nor there, we're going to keep it going on a broader scale so that we touch each conference, and we'll go into the effects on the playoffs and what the playoffs are going to be this year, because now we have a 12-team playoff, unlike before when it was just 2 teams playing, and then we went to 4-team playoff recently, and now we open it up all the way to 12. So those things have really been impacted already when a time where you could afford a loss here or a loss there, but some teams have already either put themselves in the best position possible or the worst position possible. Let me get a little drink. So when we're looking at the playoffs, or we're looking at the good teams, pretty much everything kind of has not changed that much. There's been a little bit of change, but the big dogs are still the big dogs. Texas, I know people like to say Texas is bad or they're not bad. Texas is here to stay. Their coach has them in a great position. They look really good. Just from an operations standpoint, they have tougher competition to come in the SEC, but they had a great showing. Alabama is still Alabama. Their legendary coach Nick Saban is gone, but the talent is still there. The culture is still intact as far as the standard being that of excellence, and they have speed all over the field. And Jalen Miro is just picking up where he left off, really. So we're going to see how that coaching staff continues to make adjustments and improve as the season goes on. And like I said, the competition gets more difficult. Georgia, They put a little spanking on them Tigers. If you watch the game in its entirety, you would actually see that the first half was very tightly contested, and the defenses really had a stranglehold on both offenses moving the ball. Georgia just made adjustments at halftime that Clemson wasn't able to react to well enough, and that was the main difference in that game. Like I said, we'll hold on that and the Dabo Sweeney rhetoric later. But let's just go through the SEC. Tennessee look like they're going to put up a bunch of points this year. Let's see, who else? Oklahoma, newcomer. They look solid. LSU, even though they had that loss in Vegas, they still talented. So as long as they get themselves together and really have someone in that locker room to keep everybody accountable, and LSU is going to be fine and all right. Texas A&M had a tough loss at home to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame, with that win, really put themselves in a position to say, we're here. We have the players that we want. We have the buy-in that we needed from the players, and we went on the road and put that 12th man to bed down there in Aggie Land. They ran the ball very well, very solid. Texas A&M was going to be all right. They're always going to be. But Notre Dame, I feel like they made a bigger statement by going in to that building and getting the W. So they're looking at their schedule. They're really kind of hoping that there are some teams that'll play better as the season goes on, so they can have some more credible wins, so to speak, and that will give them the opportunity to have that high enough seeding in the playoff bracket. I mean, nothing is said and done. It's week 1. You still have to play the games. You still have to show up every Saturday. You can't just roll your helmet out there and think that you're going to win. So if we move to the Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan, those are 2 of the big dogs there. They look good. Penn State, hey, this is their year. A lot of times, like you said, they had the 4 playoff system. Penn State was always, very often, outside looking in. They would peak at the wrong time, and then they would lose to Ohio State, Michigan. They made it to the Big Ten championship one time, but failed to make it past that obstacle. Well, no, actually, I think they won that year. It still didn't make it. It was crazy. It was wild. I feel like they beat Northwestern or somebody like that. So Northwestern or Iowa, they beat somebody, but it was like they still didn't make it in. Anyways, but I love the playoff system now, because if you're undefeated or a 1-loss champion of your conference, you're pretty much you're not gonna get left out anymore. And I feel like that was a big draw to the universities and everyone who put the new system together. So we went through the Big Ten, touched that a little bit. I guess we have to say a new Big Ten victory came going back to the LSU USC game. USC got a defense. Ooh. Lincoln Riley has had a great tenure. Has a very good, what's the right word, reputation, but his defenses have always lacked. And I mean, a lot of people put a lot of stock in the SEC, and how they're tougher, bigger, faster within the trenches on the offensive line and defensive line. And USC stopped them in short yardage situations. Their offense is just fine. I mean, that's to be expected. He's coached 3 Heisman finalists, and he had like 2 in the cupboard. So it was like, you weren't really worried about his offense so much, just wanted to see them improving on the field. But that defense, you thought maybe the first half, okay. No, the whole game. They were making open field tackles and doing a great job. So shouts out to them and their coaching staff for doing a great job there in the Big Ten. And I think that goes to say that Oregon is going to be a factor in that as well. So we touched on the SEC, Big Ten. We didn't go to the Pac-12. Sorry, no shots. But yeah, that's a wild situation. There. Big 12. Let's scoot over there real quick. I think that conference has a lot left to put on the table. A lot of as far from a national standpoint, because their big dogs left. Texas, Oklahoma, they left. And you got Colorado coming in, who played a very tough opponent week 1 against a very tough FCS opponent, but a perennial powerhouse who has a tradition of winning. And a lot of people had a lot to say about Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. I'm going to hold my thoughts till later in the season. But they came out and they showed why they'll be high draft picks next year. They came out, and as a team, I feel like they looked better. They looked the part. I guess that's the best way to put that. The offensive line, they ran the ball, not extremely effectively, but better than, in my opinion, what I expected against a North Dakota State team who, forget, NFL draft prospects, they play solid. They play sound, fundamental assignment football, and they were in the right positions, and they play tough. That's a tough team, and they won that game. D-line, people were still able to run on them. North Dakota State is a strong running team who does a lot off of play action and design that way. So, yeah, they held their own against the FCS Might maybe champion today. This is the best team they've had in a while. Over there at North Dakota State. However, it'd be interesting to see how they play against Nebraska this week. And we'll just see how, just let that roll out and see how they do. Other teams in the Big 12, really interested to see how Oklahoma State, Kansas State to a certain degree, Iowa, Big 10. Let's see how, I'm going to say Iowa State. Let's see how those teams do. And just looking forward to seeing the Big 12 games more because, it's week 1, so they didn't get a lot of publicity. Didn't play a lot of huge games, Penn State, West Virginia. But we'll see how that goes along, okay? So, I'm going to grab your attention a little bit because we're going to move to the ACC. This is kind of what, we're down here in the SEC country, but ACC down here too. I don't know what to tell you. If you're an ACC fan, you a lot of times you get the little brother syndrome from the SEC, and people want to be like, man, there's a bunch of hype and SEC bias. No, they didn't show the way the ACC showed this past week, and that was a little difficult to watch. Clemson, Georgia game. Clemson has the athletes. Really question some of the play calling and quarterback play. The penalties didn't help. Missed assignments didn't help. But you would like to have someone under center who can mask some of those problems, mask some of those issues, whether they arise or don't. You want that general back there. And for whatever reason, and Georgia's going to make a lot of people look pedestrian this year. It just didn't come to fruition on the field. So it wasn't a conference loss, so that's huge. However, it was very telling and maybe set a blueprint for other teams as they go into the season trying to figure out how to attack Clemson and how to defeat them. Florida State. I'm gonna lead them for last. Boston College showed well in that game. They were tough. They have a playing style that travels, meaning that when you hear that playing style that travels or a running game that travels, a lot of times certain things that you could do at home or in nice weather, it's difficult to carry that with you on the road because the crowd noise, the weather may change your game plan because not some things you can't do schematically with the passing, but when you run the football, that's football. That's the game. When you can run the ball at will, you can do anything. And, there's much to be said about that team in Tallahassee, but the way they showed Boston College, they're going to have I think they'll probably have at least an 8-9 win season if they stay healthy. Because with that, with that physical play style, that's something that you have to be concerned about. Georgia Tech won week 0, followed up with a win again in week 1. They showed well, showed tough, very much improved. Love the coach that's over there. Haynes King is really has developed and taking his game to the next level. Avoiding the costly turnovers was big for him last year, huge. And we'll see how that goes as the season progresses. But so far, he has shown himself to have gotten that, out of his system and really become a great leader for that running game and being very much a dual threat quarterback back there. And that defense, is pretty good. Solid. Florida State. That was one of that was by far the most shocking game of the year thus far. They got manhandled by Boston College. Now, shout out to Bill O'Brien, NFL pedigree. But dang, because the athletes that Florida State's have, and that's not everything. Games aren't won on paper only, at all, really. Gives you an edge. First quarter, it's 15 minutes in a quarter in football. Boston College had the ball for over 14 minutes. When your offense can't even touch the field, there's no rhyme or reason for you to believe that you have a chance. Now, the game kind of evened out there. It got close where it's a 2-score game, and then that anything can happen. You could have missed snap, fumble, interception, pick six, whatever, and you're right back in the game. So Florida State hung in there, but if at the point where I was watching, when it was it was either 28-13 or 21-13. It probably was 28-13, honestly. It was like, no, it was probably 21-13. 21-13. I was like, nah, because I was thinking that because I was wondering if I had to go for 2. But it was just trying to figure out what the storyline was going to be if Florida State won that game. Because it was going to be a difficult sell either way. That Florida State was going to have a promising season this year. Now, that's not to say that they can't turn around because they're like immensely talented, but I say that with a grain of salt because the Philadelphia Eagles had a collapse at the end of the last season. One of the most talented teams in the league, period. Don't need to go any further than that. Florida State really lost a lot in the draft. And I guess I'm kind of harping on this because this probably will be the last time that Florida State is spoken of this season in a relative manner, unless they pull the upset because of the caliber of players that they have on their team and what they were able to do last year. But they lost a lot. They lost a lot from leadership. They lost a lot from personnel. The players they had last year had one of the best defenses we've seen in a while. Now, because of injuries late in the season, Jordan Travis, their quarterback, they weren't able to put that on display for the country. And you could kind of see why, because, starting quarterback gets out for the season. The backup is then out for I don't know if he could have played in that bowl game at the end of the season, but he ain't played in the bowl game. Memory serves me, right? So the fact that the committee left him out, at this point, hindsight, was the right decision. Because the third string on a national play, you earn your right. Don't get me wrong. Undefeated. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong about them being undefeated last year. I think they, maybe not. Asterisk. But being a highly ranked, I believe they were undefeated, a highly ranked conference champion and getting left out of the playoff. I'm not going to harp on that any longer, but they lost leadership on the defensive line, secondary, all over the place. So you would think that the players that come back would have had still would have had an edge to them, but the leadership is a big part of that as well. So I'm really hopeful that they could turn it around. DJU, coming from Clemson, Oregon State, Florida State, he really showed improvement at Oregon State. Really thought that he would have, taken that next step. Maybe he hasn't practiced and it just hasn't shown in the games yet because people see him as that leader for the team. They're just going to have a come to Jesus meeting, so to speak, and are going to have to play the upset king because we've gone through a couple of ACC teams. Miami's back. Back to what capacity? I'm not sure. But Cam getting them boys that work down there in the swamp. And he made it look easy. Now, I don't remember him too much at Washington State in his playing style. But he was just toying with him. And he has great speed, field off platform throws. I think the conversation with him is he going to be able to, do more of the on schedule things and just play within the system against tougher opponents? Or, not saying that Florida's not a tough team, but from the standpoint of the team shows up and is ready to go, has a great game plan. They take away your fastball. What are you going to do next? So I believe I've gone over on my time a little bit. I was trying to touch all the major conferences, and we'll have a little bit more of a direct path, or how should I say, format next time when we talk about these games. So everybody get hyped, get ready for week 2. We're going to do a preview for that later this week, as well as the NFL is getting started this week too. So we're going to have 5 straight days of football, baby. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So everybody just get locked in, and hope y'all enjoyed the season. If y'all have any questions or anything, let me know. Go ahead and hit that follow, subscribe button for more. We're on Insta, Facebook, Make Sports Easy. A little bit on TikTok, but not really. So, I'll holler at y'all. And until next time,